Today's video, we're going to be exploring how to hook up outboard gear using the PreSonus XT pipeline plug-in into the new HD8 interface. Man, this is something I've been looking forward to. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you all the steps to get it done. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I'm Ray with Second Chance Horizon, and this is the channel that's more than just about our music and our ministry, but it's also about mixing tutorials and gear reviews. And today we're exploring how to hook up the XT pipeline with some outboard gear using the new HD8 PreSonus interface. This is something I've been looking forward to. So some of y'all may know that we've been changing our studio over from a mixing and recording 100% in the box to more of a hybrid setup. So we got some more videos that we're going to be adding to this in this process that we're doing. So if that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that follow button, ring that bell. It really does help out. But you know, I had a 32 live channel mixer before and was trying to get the outboard gear to work right. You know, I talked to Johnny Gobb. I talked to several other of their beta testers. I spent months on the back and forth with support. I never could quite get it to work right with the Studio Live. Most of those guys said it didn't work right for them either. Finally got the routing right, but when I got ready to calibrate the plugins, I was getting way too much gain. It wasn't looping back. It was summing exactly 6 decimals over, but never could figure it out. So I'm glad that I've got an alternative with the new HD8s. And I know that some people have messaged me and some other people are having some trouble set up. So I'm going to show you how I got it all set up. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is let's take a look at the hardware configuration on the back of the HD8. So what we have here is on each one of the, I have 3 of these actually hooked up. So I actually have 30 outputs and 24 inputs. So we keep everything mic'd up, the drum kits, guitars, cabs, a lot of other things mic'd up, ready to go. So that's pretty similar to the setup that we have with the 32 Live. But what we're going to do here is the 1/4-inch out jacks there for this case. We're going to be using 7 and 8. We're going to hook up a couple of distressors as outboard gear as mono units. So what you would do is whatever outboard gear that you have is you would go out. In this case, I'm going out of the 1/4-inch jack 7. I'm going to go take that to the back of the distressor. I'm going to come out of the distressor and then back into the combo jack number 7 on the input side on the back of the interface. Okay, so I'm going out of the 1/4-inch output jack number 7 into the end of the distressor, another 1/4-inch cable out of the distressor into the combo jack number 7. Then I'm going to hook up another one in the same way in channel 8. Now what I did is I actually created a little input cheat sheet here, and you may want to do something similar because it can get pretty complicated pretty quick. And you can see here I've got each unit laid out and what I've got going in and what I've got going out. In this case, we're going to be working with these 2 distressors here. I've got this number 7 already hooked up. So basically one time again, I'm coming out of channel 7 of the 1/4-inch that we just looked at on the back of the unit, into the distressor, out of the distressor, back in to number 7. So I have all those labels, so hopefully I can keep it straight. All right, so let's go to Studio One here, and let's see what we're going to need to configure in there. So here, one of the first things we've got to do is got to go to our I/O. So you come right over here. There's a number of ways of getting to it, but right over here at the I/O, and you bring up your in and outs. And here, this is the ADAT. So it's my last 2 channels over here. This is the first distressor, and what I've done is I've went ahead and labeled this distressor 1, and then I've selected my input here in distressor 2. I've gone to the outputs. Once again, it's coming out of that channel 7 in that 3rd unit, and I've labeled it distressor 1, and the second one's coming out of channel 8 and then back into 8, and I've got it labeled distressor 2. It really helps and cuts down on a lot of confusion if you'll go ahead and just rename this. You probably know this. You just double click on it, type it in, and then save it. hit apply down there and hit OK. So that's what you have to do in the in your in and outs. Now this is the step that puzzled me, and that it gets a lot of people so far. I've been seeing some comments on some forums finally figure this out, but you got to do one more crucial step. I did all this setting up and still couldn't get it to work. Boy, I was frustrated, but you got to go into the UC, Universal Control. You're going to open this up. You're going to go into settings, and you've got to bypass the mixer right here. So you got to bypass this mixer. So click on bypass mixer. So you're bypassing the internal mixer using the one in Studio One. So if you don't do that, it will not work. All right, so once we've got that, we're going to open up Pipeline. You just drag that in. We've got it pulled up here. So I've already got the Distressor 1 hooked up. I'm going to hook up the Distressor 2 and show you how I go about it and how we save this as a preset. So what you would do is you're going to drop down in this send level, and you're going to find the one that you had already labeled, and I've got mine right here, Distressor 2, and that input that I selected. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find Distressor 2 here as well. Okay, so what we have to do now is calibrate this plug-in and calibrate the distressor so it's accurate signal hitting the compressor coming out of the DAW. And that was the hard thing that I had with the Studio Live 3. It was coming out 6 decimals hotter, and I could not adjust this enough to get it to get an accurate reading. But I'm going to show you how we do this. It's really easy with this HD8. So we're going to turn on the Pipeline. I'm going to put the distressor in bypass mode. So that way the compressor signal is not affecting that at all. Then I'm going to turn on the tone generator. I've got that muted, so hopefully that's not coming through and you got to listen to that beeping. I've set this at -10. And now we just got to adjust this send to where it's -10. Now, if it's like the other one, I had about -2 decimals there, and it brought me -10. So with the compressor bypassed, you can see here it's -10 sending the signal out, so it's not hitting the compressor harder than it's supposed to. Then I've got it mixed here, and it's returning at -10. So that is calibrated. Now, if I turn on the compressor, take it out of bypass mode, you can see the compressor is compressing that by about 10 decibels. And then now you can work your compressor and put how much input and how much output that you want. But you started with a accurate reading. So now that we've got it calibrated, we can turn this off. We can get this out of the way. We can test this little loop track I've got in here. We can see we got signal working. Now, to help with the latency, you can hit this auto, and this lines up the latency perfect for you. You can adjust this manually if you need to, but this auto button actually does a great job by lining it up. Click that back off. Try that again. So we know the signal now is coming in, and you can adjust the sensitivity on this if you like. How much sensitivity you want. Not making much difference here with that signal that we've got coming in. So now the compressor is working. Now, I'm going to save this preset so you don't have to calibrate it every time that you use it. So I'm going to do this as Distressor 2. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit Store Preset, and I'm going to name this Distressor 2. And hit OK. So now, depending on if I'm using Distressor 2 or if I'm using Distressor 1, I have that preset. So you can see here, looking at the compressors, I'm using Distressor 1 now. Hit play. So you can see the first one, the top one, is working. And preset 2, I can just go right down here to 2 in the plug-in. And now the bottom one is working. So you can do that with each one of your pieces of outboard gear. And basically what you're doing, if you're going to do like I got 2 stereo buses hooked up. I've got one for drum track and then one for our main master bus that I'm using. You just hook that up in stereo. It's just two wires instead of one. So you just use the stereo plug-in. You go out, for example, 7 and 8, in 2 of them into the outboard gear, 2 of them out of the outboard gear, right back into the same inputs on the back of your interface. So that's easy to do. Now, one other thing I want to show you that's pretty neat here is you can actually add a picture. So, well, I don't know where my settings were on this, and that's kind of a little bit of a downside of using outboard gear, but Studio One makes it pretty easy. So you can go here and you can add a picture. So you go up here, you can take a picture with your phone of the distressor. I've got one of the 1176 that I took a little earlier when I was doing a mix. And you can take a picture, drop it onto the desktop on your phone, which is what I did. Go here and click on this little picture icon, click on these 3 dots, select your picture that I named, hit open. The image is too big. Do I want to resize it? That's awesome. I don't have to worry about resizing it. I'll put that in there. So now you have a picture. So if you want to recall this mix later and see where your settings were, you can click on that, pull that up, and it can show you, especially if you had a little bit better picture, you can see exactly where your settings were, so you can reset that just like you had it. So I think that's pretty neat. I can't wait to get into this and do this a little bit more. So I hope that has been some help and some use. I know that a lot of people have struggled with XT Pipeline. Sorry that I can't help you with it, using it with the Studio Live mixer. I gave up on it. I'm going to sell that one. Got 3 HD8s, went with a fader port, got some other changes here in the studio. So hey, if you're interested in what we're doing and you want to kind of follow along as we're making these changes and adding more outboard gear and learning more about it, hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that follow button. Hey, we love you and God loves you. Thank you so much. See you next time.